Under the looming shadow of the South China Sea, where tension has escalated around Second Thomas Shoal and Chinese Coast Guard ships press ever closer to the Philippines' outposts, Manila is seeking an answer to its long-standing vulnerability at sea. The planned transfer of 6 Abukuma-Class destroyers from Japan to the Philippines raises a critical question. Can these aging warships provide the strategic leap that the Philippine Navy has long sought, and will they shift the balance of maritime power in the region? This story is not only about ships. It is about a nation's struggle for deterrence and a regional order that is slowly but steadily being reshaped. Before diving into the details, let me invite you, our community, to support this channel with your attention and engagement, because the unfolding maritime struggle of the Philippines is not just a local issue. It is a frontline story of the Indo-Pacific. The Abukuma-Class destroyers, though over 30 years old, remain highly capable platforms. At 2,000 tons displacement, they were designed for escort missions with a focus on anti-submarine warfare and surface combat. Armed with ASROC anti-submarine rockets, Harpoon anti-ship missiles, torpedo launchers, and a 76mm main gun, they were once a vital element of Japan's maritime self-defense force. For the Philippine Navy, whose most modern vessels are the Jose Rizal-class frigates, supplemented by older corvettes and patrol ships, the Abukumas represent a qualitative leap. In a Navy accustomed to limited firepower and short endurance, these destroyers offer something Manila has never possessed: credible capability against submarines and an escort fleet capable of joining blue water operations. From a technical perspective, the gap that the Abukumas can fill is clear. The Philippine Navy has long lacked effective anti-submarine warfare capacity. China's People's Liberation Army Navy operates a growing fleet of diesel, electric, and nuclear submarines that prowl the waters of the West Philippine Sea. Without sonar arrays, ASROC systems, or torpedo-equipped escorts, Manila has effectively been blind and toothless beneath the waves. With the Abukuma transfer, that blind spot is reduced. These ships are not state-of-the-art, but they give the Philippines the ability to detect, track, and potentially deter submarine intrusions. That alone marks a fundamental step up for a country whose maritime defenses have long relied on Coast Guard cutters and outdated platforms. Strategically, the significance of these ships goes far beyond their weapon systems. They symbolize the Philippines' slow but visible transition from a brown-water navy confined to coastal defense into a force with limited green water capabilities. For the first time, Manila can think of extending its patrols, conducting escort missions, and integrating with allies in more complex operations. The Abukumas may not tilt the balance of power against China's formidable fleet, but they can inject credibility into Manila's deterrent posture. To deter, one does not need parity, only the ability to impose costs. And for a nation struggling to protect its sovereign rights in the South China Sea, even modest deterrence can shift the diplomatic and operational calculus. The geopolitical message behind the transfer is even more potent. Japan's willingness to release these destroyers represents a transformation of its own security identity. Bound for decades by constitutional restrictions on arms exports, Tokyo has begun to reinterpret its role. By framing the transfer as part of a joint development scheme, Japan can provide lethal naval hardware to a Southeast Asian ally without openly breaching constitutional limits. For Manila, this is not just a gift of ships, but a statement of alignment. It places the Philippines squarely within the emerging trilateral framework of the United States, Japan, and the Philippines, a network designed to uphold freedom of navigation and balance China's expanding reach. For Beijing, the symbolism is impossible to ignore. A Southeast Asian state, once hesitant to confront China, is now preparing to operate Japanese destroyers under the umbrella of a U.S. alliance system. The Abukuma Transfer, when paired with the Reciprocal Access Agreement recently ratified by both Tokyo and Manila, institutionalizes Japan's military presence in the Philippines. This creates a forward operating concept, the Philippines as the front line, Japan as the rear logistics hub, and the United States as guarantor. Each Abukuma hull in Subic Bay or Manila Bay will stand as a reminder that China's maritime dominance is contested not only by the United States, but by an Indo-Pacific coalition. Yet the realities of naval operations impose sobering caveats. These ships are old, with hulls commissioned in the late 1980s and early 1990s. Maintenance costs will be high, spare parts may be difficult to source, and the Philippine Navy will require significant training to crew and sustain them. Without dedicated funding and a long-term support agreement, there is a risk that the Abukumas could become pier-side destroyers, impressive in number but inactive due to logistics bottlenecks. Critics may argue that Manila is inheriting a costly burden. Supporters, however, counter that the benefits outweigh the risks. Even if only a portion of the fleet becomes fully operational, the Philippines will still gain a platform for training, deterrence, and alliance integration. Looking forward, several scenarios emerge. In the best case, the Abukumas serve as a core force, enabling Manila to train crews, expand operations, and integrate seamlessly with the US and Japanese navies. They become a bridge to more advanced frigates and submarines envisioned under Horizon 3. In the worst case, the ships are undermaintained, overstretched, and eventually sidelined, symbolizing lost opportunity. The most likely scenario lies between these extremes. The Abukumas provide a useful but limited boost, acting as a deterrent force and a training ground, while Manila invests in new, purpose-built ships over the next decade. Either way, their arrival will mark a turning point in the narrative of Philippine naval power. In conclusion, the Abukuma transfer is not merely about the hulls of aging destroyers. It represents Manila's first credible leap into maritime deterrence, Tokyo's bold step into regional security export, and Washington's growing reliance on allies to sustain the Indo-Pacific order. For the Philippines, whose navy has for decades been a symbol of underinvestment, this deal offers a chance to be taken seriously on the high seas. It will not create parity with China, but it can give Manila something it has long lacked, the ability to resist rather than merely to protest. And in the charged waters of the South China Sea, that difference could prove decisive. If you believe this story matters and you want more analysis on how these strategic shifts are reshaping the Indo-Pacific, I invite you to support this channel. Your engagement ensures that we can continue to bring clarity and depth to the struggles defining our maritime century.